Before I do, I would just like to say that I'm taking my executive privilege as mayor, and I've decided that we're not going to meet tonight. We're all going to go to Zapata's.
Let's go.
April Fool.
I second that.
We must carry on the business of the city. At this time, we'll have our roll call.
Director Brewer,
Here.
Director Jewell,
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hart is absent, Director Roberts,
Here.
Director Harris,
Here.
Director Hollibush,
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here. At this time, we'll stand for our invocation to be given by Director Brewer. Our pledge of allegiance tonight will be led by our city manager, Robert Thompson.
Our Father, we come to you in prayer today, asking for your guidance and direction. Help us decrease and allow you to increase, and that we lean not onto our own understanding, and that we may use our platforms for the betterment of the city, the citizens of this city. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. At this time, we'll move right on into our citizens' communication time. If you wish to address the board tonight, it would be beneficial for us for you to fill out a citizens' communication card and give that to our city clerk. Have one that's turned in, Mr. Lee Dale Robertson.
This time I'm gonna thank y'all for allowing me to even come to speak with y'all. But I was hoping I was gonna get the video shown, which again, I see I'm not. But I heard that y'all, I've been told that y'all seen the video,
We have.
but I wanted to
I
talk
have.
about it. But I guess my main question about what we complain about is it's an ordinance that the city made, that everybody go by ordinance. We got a problem in our neighborhood that the ordinance not being enforced. No type of way. We got a noise ordinance that's not being enforced, that we all got complaints about. And I got some of my people with me this time. It ain't just me, it's the neighborhood. And we got a problem, a noise, exploding, smell, smoke. And it ain't that, I mean, we 5 minutes away. If people don't trust what we saying, just drive over there. They doing it right now. You could drive over there from 6:30 in the morning to midnight. You ain't got to take my word for it. You could just drive through. We got a ward member, he drive through sometime. He ain't going to stop. He ain't going to talk to you. But he come through. And I call him and complain all the time. I call the tri-state complain. I call the police department complain. My neighbors call me and tell me, you hear that exploding, you feel that? And I tell them, I go down and tell them about it, but it seems so unreal that y'all think, cause of what we saying is just too real to be true. But you can just come out and see for yourself. It's going on every day, 6 days a week, 12 hours, 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. And we're not getting no relief. When we complain about the explosion, it might stop for a day or two. Then 2 or 3 days later, the house shake. 2 or 3 days later, smoke got us, we don't know what we're breathing. Whatever they releasing over there through their sewage is coming up through the pipe. We don't know what we're breathing. We need help. We need the city to abide by the ordinance that they made. We didn't make them. And that's all we asking for is help. And I'm not the only one complaining. That whole neighborhood is in trouble. And I'm down here now hoping I was going to get to show the video. I'm going to make some more videos. I wish we had our ward member help, but we don't. And I'm not down to him no type of way. I ain't got no problem with him, but he not helping us. He ain't never told y'all nothing about our neighborhood. He know. We're trying to figure out why we can't get some help. We part of Texarkana, Arkansas. We need help. And I'm going to keep coming back and keep coming back to somebody listen. And I'm going to keep trying to get these video played till they get in the system somehow. I'm going to keep coming back.
I live about, I'd say 4 to 5 blocks away from their place, and I hear the noise,
Yes,
but I don't hear the explosions.
yes.
So how loud in your in your view, are the explosions? Because,
3 or 4 blocks away. You
Because-
can hear it. When I say loud, they loud. And
well, again, I'm 3 to 4 blocks
which way
away.
you stay from the tri-state?
Arkansas High football stadium.
Can you hear you say you can't hear the crushing of the cars and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
Because I walked the track this morning. I didn't know it was so clear. I left my neighborhood and walked at the track to get away from it. I didn't know it was so loud at the track. It's just like you still standing right there. I walked the track this morning, and you could hear everything going on just like you standing right there with it. And I got neighbors here, which I'm not going to tell them to come up here, but if you want them to explain, because it seems like when I say it, it's too unreal. But I got neighbors that could tell you about these explosions that are shaking their house. I'm not the only one.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Again, I'm 4 blocks away.
Yes.
I can hear the noise, but I don't hear the explosions.
Most of the
So-
explosions start, let me tell you what we get most, they start like 6:45 in the morning. Between 6:45 and about 9 or 10, that's when you hear the most of the explosion. Every now and then up to 6 o'clock, we might get 1 or 2 through the day. But that morning, you're going to get your 4 or 5 good
Okay,
ones.
but the explosions, are they as loud as a firecracker?
Oh,
Or what?
They like throwing a hand grenade, like boom, and your walls shake, and your house move, and your windows shake. They like that.
You're saying maybe a gas tank exploded in a car or something like that?
Could be. And I know they done said that they trying to do better and they trying to cut out this and that, but them trying to do better for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years ain't got nothing to do with the foundation problem causing on our house. That ain't doing us no good.
Okay, I think in the past, I have heard some of the explosions probably caused by the gas tanks.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard that in quite a while.
Oh,
So, but the time constraint that they're to operate, are you privy, do you know what the time they're supposed to operate?
We're not complaining about the time they operate. That is not our problem. We complain about the ordinance or the noise ordinance. That's what we complain about. How much noise can they make? We don't care if they operate 9 hours a day. It's they got an ordinance on how much noise they're supposed to make. We want somebody to regulate that part of it. We don't care about them. If they cover that up over there, they ain't even got to close. They can do it 24/7. If they can stop us from going through what we going through, we don't care.
Well, I'm sure we got some noise control, right? Some decibels that they
Oh.
cannot exceed?
Yes, sir. We had the police out so many times. Know what they told me? We're not bringing it back out. They cannot operate under this ordinance. That's what the police department told me. They cannot operate under that ordinance. They can't. And they said, not bring the meter back out. And if, I'm sure somebody want to call he should know, he over us, but call the police department, ask them how many times have Liddell Robinson called y'all out.
Well, that shouldn't be the police call. That should
Yeah.
be the city's call.
I don't,
To-
Mr. City Manager, I'm not, of course, me and you had a nice conversation, but I had called you plenty of time about how loud the explosion was, right? This not made up.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's made up.
Very loud, very loud. I'm sure I got some people behind can tell you, shake
But
their house.
You're saying that they operate outside of the time constraint?
No,
No,
you
you're
going
not saying
back to the
that.
time, see, that's how they put it over on the
Okay,
planning committee. It's not about the time we complain about, it's the noise they making. Okay, they got a right to crush the car, we don't care. It's the noise that come along with the ordinance that ain't nobody talking about. How much noise can they make? How long do we have to hear these?
Okay.
That's what we complain about, the noise they making. We don't care about them crushing the car, put a building around it, they can go 24/7.
Okay.
But
The noise.
on that video, which I had it here, you'll see me standing at my door like 9 o'clock in the morning. You seen the video, didn't you?
Yes.
You hear all that noise that I'm listening to at my door? Yeah, that's what we complain about, the ordinance that not being enforced, about the noise ordinance. We don't care about the hour they operate.
So we're needing to check in to see what the noise
Yes.
limit is.
Yeah, and they done did that. Planning committee took us through all that. They took us through all that. Ain't nobody enforcing it. They know it's not being taken care of, but ain't no one enforcing it. Who gonna enforce it? That's what we need help with from y'all. We need
Well,
somebody.
certainly, if we got some kind of noise, a requirement, yes, we certainly need to enforce it. I agree with you.
Yeah, well, that's what we need help with. An ordinance that's made up by the city in our neighborhood. We need somebody to enforce that law. Like they would do if I roll down the street with my music bumping in the car, I get a ticket. We want that kind of enforcement. We want to be treated just like a neighborhood, like everybody else's neighborhood. And we want someone like Mr. Hollywood's right here to support us, but we can't get it. I'd have been to planning committee, this committee, he never once spoke up for our neighborhood. Not once. And I'm not blaming him, because that's his right. He can do what he want to do. But he's not speaking up for us. So that's why I come up here and talk.
Lita, if we don't have
Mr.
any more questions from any board members, your time's expired.
Okay.
I got
Thank you.
one statement.
All right, go ahead.
Hey, Mr. Lito, it's obvious that we do need to get to some point for conflict resolution here. This is not a dead issue, because I actually lived in the neighborhood and I did experience that. So at some point, just keep in mind that it's not a dead issue. We are going to continue to work and try to get some type of resolution on this.
What I ask of y'all before I walk off, look into the ordinance, see how loud they allowed to be, and make them enforce that. That's all we want right now. We wish we could get them to move. We understand the tax money they give. We know, we understand it. But can we just get the noise ordinance enforced? That's what we want for now.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I do
All right,
have a
go ahead.
question. As you know, me and you and Jenny was talking right before the board meeting and something like the video. But what I'm trying to say about that is, I know it was emailed to us, but technically it's not a part of the record unless it is shown at
Board meeting.
here at the board meeting. So my question is, he doesn't have his video, what he was trying to show, made a part of the record before us, even though we may got it, by email, and I still think it needs to be made part of the record. And like I say, she said she didn't know that she was gonna be had to show it, at this board meeting. So that's the reason why she didn't have it ready. So, that's what she stated.
She can show it next meeting and make it a part of the record, or I have no problem with them making it part of the record now. It's just a technicality, so. We had a technicality of not being able to show it at the last meeting, so.
All right. Thank y'all.
All right. Anyone else wish to address the board during citizens' communication time? Any board member? If not, we'll move on. We have 3 presentations tonight. Our first presentation will be for our service awards, will be presented by our city manager to our employees. We have 2 employees, I'm told, that are not present tonight. Paul Reynolds with TWU for 5 years, and Rayvon Williams with TWU for 5 years. Y'all give them a round of applause. They're not here, are you? And present tonight with us, our first recipient is Richard Muller, TWU, 5 years. Next is Mr. Braden Tidwell, TWU, for 5 years. Next is Kathy Dotson, TWU, 10 years. And the last on our list tonight is William Ingledow, TWU, 10 years. All right, thank you to all of you. Next, we have a proclamation for Bertha Callahan Dunn Day. I know we have some of her family here, and when I finish this, we'll take a photograph and I'll present this to you down there at the lectern. Bertha Callahan Dunn Day, April the 1st, 2024. Whereas Bertha Callahan Dunn was born on February 19th, 1947, to Holly Callahan and Josephine Callahan of Texarkana, Arkansas. And whereas Bertha retired from the Defense Logistics Agency at Red River Army Depot after 43 years of dedicated service, and whereas Ms. Dunn passed away on Sunday, January the 28th, 2024, leaving behind 7 children, 13 grandchildren, 19 great-grandchildren to cherish her memories, and whereas during Bertha's lifetime, she was adamant about giving back to her community and played an active role in the city of Texarkana, Arkansas, and its citizens by her service to Park Avenue Baptist Church, she held several positions such as cooking and feeding her neighbors and friends, being instrumental in the naming of the Reverend Londell Williams Memorial Overpass, and serving not only as a commissioner, but chairperson and vice chairperson of the Texarkana, Arkansas Planning Commission for 14 years. And whereas the city of Texarkana, Arkansas obtained significant benefits from Bertha Callahan Dunn's commitment and involvement in her community, and she will be greatly missed. Now therefore, I, Alan Brown, Mayor of the city of Texarkana, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim today, April the 1st, 2024, is Bertha Callahan Dunn Day. It's signed by myself and by our city clerk, Heather Sawyers. At this time, I'd like to present that to her family.
God bless you.
Next, we have a proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. April the 14th through April the 20th, 2024. Whereas emergencies that require police, fire, and emergency medical services can occur at any time, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, and whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the city's emergency communications center, and whereas working quietly behind the scenes to help people when they need it most, dispatchers are the first and most critical contact our citizens have for emergency services. And whereas dispatchers are the eyes and ears and the voice of our emergency personnel, are the single vital link that monitors their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety, and are seen as unsung heroes by first responders. And whereas our city dispatchers have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients in Texarkana, and whereas during the performance of their jobs under some of the most stressful and chaotic environments, our city dispatchers have exhibited compassion, understanding, calmness, and professionalism, all of which are critical to the success of our emergency services. And whereas National Dispatchers Week celebrates and thanks dispatch personnel who serve our communities, citizens, and public safety personnel 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now therefore, I, Alan Brown, Mayor of the city of Texarkana, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim April the 14th through April 20th, 2024, as National Dispatchers Week in Texarkana, Arkansas, and I encourage all of our citizens to recognize and honor the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our citizens safe. It's signed by myself as mayor and by our city clerk, Heather Sawyers. At this time, I'd like to present that. All right, moving right along, we'll get into our consent agenda. Tonight, we have one item on our consent agenda, which is item number 4, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 18th. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So I have a motion and usually wants.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm seeing this right. It says executive session was from 6:16 to 9:59 p.m. on the, do that need to be a correction?
I didn't see that.
Look at what.
Can you look at that and see if the time,
Oh, it is an error. It will be corrected.
what would be the correct time probably?
6:59.
Six.
6:59? 6:59. So with that correction, anyone else have any corrections? We'll make that correction to the time on the executive session. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Moving right along to our regular agenda tonight, item number 5 is to consider the following action concerning the cleanup of 14 nuisance properties. Conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding certification of certain delinquent taxes. Adopt a resolution certifying the amount to put on the tax books as delinquent and collected accordingly. Tyler.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. So I come to y'all about this time every year to put liens on all of these condemned houses that we tore down. So these are all condemned structures that we tore down the last quarter of 23 of last year. These are all the ones that haven't paid, which is the majority of them. Y'all have any questions for me?
Does anybody have any questions? I have a couple of them.
I've got a couple of questions that's pertaining to ones we haven't tore down yet.
Okay.
Do we have a running list of the properties that are, I guess, scheduled to be demolished?
Yes, y'all will see a new list of condemned structures here very soon, probably either next meeting or the first meeting in May.
Okay.
So that there'll be a new list of 20-some-odd structures to tear down for
So
this
we
year.
don't have any currently that have been condemned that are waiting to be demolished?
There are a couple that have been condemned that they pulled permits on. We had them sign agreements that they would bring that structure up to code within 15 months. So we've got a couple of those out there, but besides that, no, we don't have any that are just sitting there waiting to be torn down. No, sir. We've got plenty that need to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have something, Director Harris? No. So a couple of questions. I know that we've had this discussion, I'll see if you did this or didn't do it this time, but we've, had a couple of meetings with the tax collector, and we looked at these lien structure, and we were kind of supposed to run that lien structure through her to let her see if these were even worth putting liens on, because they're very time-consuming for her office to have to do. And when past, we put liens on people that have been deceased. We put liens on people that hadn't paid their taxes in the last 20 years. And did we do that with this list, or this list is?
No, sir, we did not do that. City manager and I had some discussions regarding that, and we were concerned about picking and choosing which ones possibly. So we thought that it was best to bring all of them to you all.
I mean, my opinion is that's a waste of time. So, plus this doesn't build very good rapport with our tax collector, but, we've already met and discussed all that, and if we're not gonna do it every time, then, we probably shouldn't have even went through that whole statute. But putting these liens and stuff on something that's never gonna be collected, it's just part of doing business. And that's what she asked us to do, and now we didn't do it here, and we've got all these liens she'll have to record again. So I wouldn't have done it that way, but that's me. So,
Tyler,
that's what we do. I did what she asked us to do, is what I support.
I'll get with the city manager and we'll discuss it some more.
Now, Mayor,
Go ahead.
based on what you said, number 3, they are deceased, both person on number 3.
On number 3, you said? Okay.
Like 1507.
Eugenia?
Yeah. I'm aware of that, so
Okay.
most of the other ones, I haven't really paid attention. So what do you do about that, Mayor? If both of them, what you just said is,
So, well, we're gonna file a lien on them, and we're gonna pay to file a lien on them. We're gonna ask her to keep up with it and file it, and you're never gonna get anything. So you just let it go is what you end up doing. And eventually, that land and that piece of property will end up with the state or somewhere, and it's gonna end back up with an opportunity for the city to do something with it, and you've really spent nothing. And now you're spending something, plus you're putting a lien on something that's never gonna be collected, so you're just spinning your wheels. But my point is that in our meetings and discussion with the collector, she asked us not, if you would just let her do that first, but we would not be wasting this time in doing that. And here we are, we're gonna give her 14 more, whoever means on that list to do it.
Wait.
I-
What's stopping us from tabling this and getting her the opportunity to do this?
Well, I mean, that's, to me, that's not a policy or procedure, it's just something that we have worked out that evidently Robert and Tyler felt like they didn't want to follow. So if that's, I'm not gonna take the heat for it, so that would be left up to them. But if they want to have a conversation with them, then these things are not filed, so I'm assuming they would have a chance not to file.
I will say this, Director Harris, we have 120 days after we receive bills from the contractor to place the lien. If we wait till April 15th, till the next meeting, we'll be beyond that 120 days, and we won't be able to place any of the liens.
But only thing we gonna do is, I think I mentioned it too, and so maybe a different way. That's all we gonna do is just put a lien on, it's on the front end, and that $3,000, somebody's not gonna go and pay for a property. For $3,000, that, well, ain't no house there, probably only worth $50 or $500.
The difference in this and the mowing liens is these right here will be placed on the value of the property. And what we're placing on these to demo these lots is far in excess of what the lots are worth. I mean, we're spending $10,000 probably more on some of these properties, maybe less on some, and they're not $500 lots probably, a fair assumption would be. So you're never gonna collect that. When we put a lien on here for mowing for somebody, that lien goes in front of the property tax payment. So they have to pay that first before they pay their property taxes, so a lot of them pay those. But they don't like it when they go down there, but they'll pay that $200 first before they'll pay their property taxes because they don't want their taxes to be delinquent. This is different. This is a lien on that piece of property that, to satisfy all liens, would have to be paid in full, or it's gonna revert back to the state, which will end up back with the city at some point in time, in my opinion. So State Land Commissioner's gonna give them back to you at some point in time, but
Yeah, I completely agree, and we don't expect really to recuperate any of this money. We very rarely do. Most of these lots, if they do go to the state to be auctioned off, an empty lot may go for $500,000. If it's actually got a structure that could potentially be salvageable, they still only go for a few thousand, if that.
So Tyler, you did say for the collection revenue, it's been very little.
get any of them.
For on the liens that we file?
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very little.
I know we've been going.
If at all.
We've been discussing for the past couple of years what strategy is going to be advantageous. So,
Yes, sir.
feel like we still got some more work to do.
And
Yes, sir.
my question is this, what funds did you use to tear these down? Did you use city fund, or did you use community development block fund?
So that's the other thing. Some of them were done with city funds, some of them done with CDBG. Now, on the ones that we use CDBG funds, we've got no choice. We have to file the liens on those.
Yeah, I understand.
But the ones on the city funds, obviously, we've got discretion there. But yes, some of them are city funds, some of them are CDBG.
And my next question is, what's stopping you from splitting that up and bringing two different things?
I can absolutely do that if y'all would like to.
I had this conversation before, maybe a year or 2 years before. You did it one time, but apparently
The
that's
cleaner,
not gonna solve the issue.
the cleaner way to do it, in my opinion, would be, you gotta separate the CDBG ones anyway. We gotta file a lien on them, and we're gonna demo and put them through the process. It's the ones over here that you've either got to decide whether you wanna file a lien on, or if it's worth filing a lien, and there's gonna be very, very, very few that she's gonna tell you, and professional opinion based on the tax record, and not even since she's been in there, but probably the history of tax record, as to whether you should file a lien or not. And those that she thinks you should bring those to the board, and that's it. The rest of them, we just put them on the demo ordinance and demo them and not put a lien on them.
Yes.
That's the cleanest way to do it. Any other discussion?
Director Harris, I'm sorry, I don't recall that, but I can certainly consider that for future years and split them up.
You have done that before, so.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, I didn't remember that this
And I
time.
guess just to backtrack too, this needs to be, what we've been discussing, needs to be considered a public hearing. I never opened a public hearing, I don't think I did, but we would consider that discussion as part of the public hearing. Is there any more comments during the public hearing period of this ordinance, or this resolution?
Negative.
All right. What would be the desire of the board? We'll have the city attorney, well, I guess it's a resolution, we'll have the city attorney read the resolution.
Whereas notice was given pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated section 1454-904 to the property owners identified in Exhibit A attached hereto of a hearing before the Texarkana, Arkansas Board of Directors to determine the amount of lien, if any, to be placed on the property identified in Exhibit A for the expense incurred by the city for removal of structures from and/or cutting and/or cleaning of such parcel of real property under the provisions of Arkansas Code annotated section 14-56-201 and Arkansas Code annotated section 14-54-901 and the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances, including without limitation, Chapter 11, Article 6. And whereas such notice was given pursuant to applicable law more than 30 days prior to the date of the hearing and stated that the hearing on the matter would be before the City Board of Directors on March 18th, 2024, commencing at 6 p.m. in the Texarkana, Arkansas Municipal Boardroom. And whereas a hearing on such claim by the city was held this date pursuant to said notice and in accordance with the provisions of applicable law in the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances, and whereas the properties that issue property owners and lien amounts, with the amount of lien on each said parcel being the city's incurred expense for such parcel plus 10% penalty as provided by law, including without limitation, Arkansas Code annotated section 14-54-904 are attached in Exhibit A, and whereas the Board of Directors has determined that there should be certified to the Miller County, Arkansas tax collector to be placed on the books as delinquent taxes the amount set forth in Exhibit A for each said parcel of real property. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the amounts set forth in Exhibit A are hereby certified to the tax collector for Miller County, Arkansas, for placement on the books as delinquent taxes on the respective parcels of real property identified and described and collected accordingly as provided for by applicable law, including without limitation, Arkansas Code annotated section 14-54-901. Pass and approve this first day of April 2024.
City attorney's read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. Resolution passes. Moving on to item number 6, to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager into a contract with Waste Management of Texas to provide solid waste disposal for a landfill. Tyler.
Okay, so our landfill contract expires at the end of this month. We bid out a new landfill contract. Well, first, per our current landfill contract with Sanitation Solutions in Blossom, we could renegotiate with them, but the rate that they came back to us with was a lot more than we're paying right now. So we went ahead and took it out for bid. We received 3 bids, one from Waste Management in New Boston, that was for $33.94 a ton. One from Sanitation Solutions in Blossom, which is where we're at currently, for $24 a ton. And one from GFL Union County in El Dorado for $25 a ton. So it was put in the RFP that we would evaluate these proposals by the cost per tonnage, as well as the distance it takes to haul those. Obviously, New Boston is much closer than the others. Blossom and El Dorado are about the same distance from Texarkana. So we met with the Solid Waste Committee on March 4th. We came out of there with a recommendation to move forward with Waste Management under the condition that they would place a 3% cap on their CPI that they included in their proposal. They agreed to that. The Solid Waste Committee is recommending that the board go with Waste Management in New Boston. I'm sure you all have some questions about rates and whatnot.
I have one question
Yes,
about,
sir.
because I know we were with Waste Management before.
Yes, sir.
And switched to Blossom. Did we save any money by doing that, or did it end up costing the same?
Yes, we saved money, and when we got when we bid this out in 2019, we got a rate from Blossom for $16 a ton. And quite frankly, it blew all of our minds. It was an extremely cheap rate. And we knew that that wasn't going to last. In fact, I budgeted for about $40 a ton for this year, assuming that that was going to increase dramatically. And it did. So it was nice seeing a good savings over the last 5 years from that $16 a ton, but we knew that that was coming to an end this year.
Yes, sir.
Now, did I hear right? One of them was $24?
Yes, sir. That'd be Sanitation Solutions in Blossom.
And the other one is what?
So Waste Management is $33.94 a ton. So if you factor in that hauling distance, you're talking about, to go from New Boston to Blossom, it's about $265,000 extra dollars a year to make that haul, to transport that waste that extra distance. And the difference between the two bids annually is about $125,000. So
I guess what would be the total cost? That's what I would get.
annually,
For each person, then, would you go to if Waste Management did not, was what, third on the bid process, but based on the total, amount, who's lower than, from what I mean?
Waste Management was cheaper because they're so much closer.
Right.
yeah, we included that in our RFP process, that the hauling distance would be factored in. If we were to go to Blossom, those hauling costs then get thrown on our haulers that are hauling our residential waste. So you could expect from them a high rate increase, so it would even out there.
Who would be responsible for getting the trash to the?
Our haulers, it's in our hauling contract that they have to take it to our landfill.
So how was they getting by the last 2 or 3 years before this new contract?
So the way it works is our haulers pay for the commercial disposal fees. And what we did last time was we had our landfill include our haulers in our rate. So they were able to see a large savings there from that. But they also paid out of their pocket a lot of money to make that extra haul.
But isn't the trash went up with them, based on that? Now shouldn't the trash, come down if they not gonna incur that cost? That was, from my understanding, also, did they have a transfer station somewhere close to town?
They've got a transfer station out Highway 71, which yes, the waste is first taken to the transfer station and then taken to Blossom. But no, they didn't receive an increase back then to go to Blossom to cover those additional hauling rates.
So Tolly, for what I understand, there's a cost savings with time and distance. And so.
Compared to the other bid?
Right, compared to the other bids.
Yes, sir, yeah.
Because, just having dumpsters myself, that time and distance does make a difference.
Oh, yes, sir,
So it's a
absolutely.
cost savings in that.
Yes,
The
sir.
toll's not gonna get any cheaper back
Right.
anytime soon.
No, it's not.
As you explained it to me over the phone today, you're estimating about $125,000 savings, I believe was the total, in going with Waste Management over the
Yes, sir.
sanitation because of the difference in the haul rate between the Boston and
Correct,
Boston,
factoring,
Texas, Paris area. So
correct.
So we're saving around $125,000 a year by going with
yes,
waste management.
factoring in the hauling costs.
That will be passed along to the consumer.
Well, no,
Well-
the solid waste committee didn't elect to pass on
Well, I mean,
any
okay,
costs.
the city,
Right, yes, sir.
okay, the city.
Yes, some of those hauling costs are shared by all the hauling costs are on the haulers themselves. But, you could expect them to come back to us with a rate increase to cover those costs.
So it's cheaper overall for the city to go with waste management versus the current provider, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, and with the haulers too, I mean, the wear and tear on the vehicles and fuel and personnel time, I mean, it's a win-win, I think, for both sides. I mean,
Well,
Saves
We're-
everybody money.
yeah.
What was that comment? Were the haulers on board with this? I mean, were they part of the?
Yes.
Yes, I've had discussions with them, and they would like to go to New Boston instead. Yeah, I mean, they're spending,
What, they don't like the view from New Boston to Blossom or something?
yeah.
I've got, when we get into reading the contract, I've got some questions there. Or whenever we get. Go ahead.
I don't think he's going to actually read the contract itself, so if you have questions about the
Yeah, I do.
contract, I can address those.
Well, there's a couple of typos, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's not the final
Okay.
contract.
Well, okay, so I'll forget about the typos, but on page, I think it's 9, I'd like to know exactly what, let me get over there, of the contract.
Okay, are you talking about the contract or the RFP?
The contract. It's going to be the second paragraph.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the contract in my packet here. What's it regarding?
I guess, contract for waste disposal services. I'll read you the paragraph, and it's probably for Josh. Provided the inclusive fee will not include any foreseen change of law or regulation as it relates to the landfill. Well, one question is are there any foreseen changes that you know of coming about? I mean, are there anything out there that the feds are going to be putting on the landfill in the year that we know about that's
Not-
going to cause?
Not that's foreseeable, no, sir.
Okay, that's
But yes, I'm sorry, I did get to it finally. Yeah, that's something that we have always included in our contract. It's something that the landfill requires in order to sign the contract. Obviously, if they get some federal or state regulations placed upon them that increase their costs, they don't want to, they don't want to be responsible for that. So,
That
yeah,
they're saying
that's
that-
standard in
Now-
all landfill contracts.
Okay, but it continues, and it says, any such change hereafter will be passed on to the city. And it says, and it is specifically noted, this does not apply to fuel tax, wages, and any other sim. I guess this is saying that does not include in the exclusion their wages and all that good stuff, meaning that they're not to be
Correct.
excluded, that we're not responsible for any increase in
Correct.
their taxes, right?
Correct,
That's kind of
yes.
confusing to me, that if they give an increase of $5 to their workers, we're not responsible for their increase in their $5 tax, right?
That's
Is
correct.
that how you read that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So the only way we would see the increase is if there was a specific law placed. Yeah,
Right.
if there's a
If
specific
Texas-
federal or state law.
If Texas raised their minimum wage to $8.75 and they're paying somebody $8.75, and Texas raised their minimum wage to $15,
It
then
excludes wages in here, so we aren't liable for that.
okay. That's the way you read it, that's, okay. I'm good.
I will double check with Josh just to be 100% sure, but yes, that's the way that I read it.
Any other discussion? If not, we would have the city attorney read the resolution.
Whereas Public Works Department is requesting the approval of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Board of Directors to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Waste Management of Texas Incorporated to provide solid waste disposal service to the city. And whereas the city's landfill contract with Sanitation Solution expires on April 30th, 2024, and whereas the city advertised for requests for proposals for solid waste disposal service on February 4th, 2024, and whereas three proposals were submitted from Sanitation Solutions Incorporated, Waste Management of Texas Incorporated, and Waste Corporation of Arkansas LLC, doing business as GFL Environmental. And whereas the rates were presented as follows: Sanitation Solutions, Inc., Incorporated, $24 a ton for the duration of the 5-year contract, inclusive of fuel surcharges. Waste Management of Texas Incorporated, option 1, $33.94 a ton with CPI increase not to exceed 3% annually, inclusive of fuel surcharges. Waste Corporation of Arkansas LLC, $25 a ton for the duration of the 5-year contract, inclusive of field surcharges. And whereas Public Works staff recommended to the Solid Waste Committee on March 4, 2024, the landfill contract be awarded to Waste Management of Texas Incorporated. And whereas the Solid Waste Committee voted to submit Waste Management of Texas Incorporated's proposal to the Board of Directors for approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the city manager is authorized to enter into a contract with Waste Management of Texas Incorporated for the purposes set forth herein. Pass and approve this first day of April 2024.
City attorney's read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
No.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. The resolution passes. Moving on to item number 7, to adopt an ordinance granting a limited franchise to occupy a right-of-way at 112 Pine Street.
Okay, so I'm going to take you way back here. 112 Pine Street is where the old Grand Slam Bakery was. It's a portion of the building sticks out into the sidewalk. It's right across from Bi-State. So back in 1986, the Board of Directors gave them a franchise agreement to occupy that space in the right-of-way, and they constructed that add-on there. But that was only for 5 years. They had to come back after that 5 years to have it approved again. Well, apparently through all of the sales since then, it's just been missed. But they're going through a sale now, and the bank or somebody caught it. So we're trying to clean this up. So they did have to come back to us to grant that franchise agreement again. Any questions?
Anybody got any questions?
So in 5 years, we'll have to do this again?
No, that's, I don't recall.
I don't think it has a term, plus it being
It's open-ended?
I think it's open-ended. My understanding when I read it.
Yeah, George,
Jamie?
was. 30, that's right, yeah, 30 years, that's right.
We'll be gone, George.
Yes.
Any other discussion? I'll remind the board, this is an ordinance. They've also requested an emergency clause. What would be the desire of the board to have the ordinance read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have the ordinance read on its first reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance granting a limited franchise to Texas Boulevard Properties LLC, Texas Series 6, for the non-exclusive right and privilege to occupy public right-of-way at 112 Pine Street, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
The ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its second reading?
Second reading.
Abbreviated form.
So have a motion and a second for a second reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance granting a limited franchise to Texas Boulevard Properties LLC, Texas Series 6, for the non-exclusive right and privilege to occupy public right-of-way at 112 Pine Street, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its third and final reading?
Third reading, abbreviated form, please.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its third and final reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance granting a limited franchise to Texas Boulevard Properties LLC, Texas Series 6, for the non-exclusive right and privilege to occupy public right-of-way at 112 Pine Street, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Hearing none, could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. The ordinance is adopted. They've asked for an emergency clause. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to attach emergency clause.
So I have a motion and a second to attach an emergency clause. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes, the emergency clause is attached. Moving right along to item number 8, which is to adopt an ordinance amending the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances, Section 2859 fences, in order to increase the maximum height of a residential fence from 6 to 8 foot. Jamie?
This is a request that was brought to me by Tyler Richards, and it's to amend Section 2872 of our ordinances to raise the maximum height of residential fencing from 6 foot to 8 foot. The reason that this got brought up was our Board of Adjustments every year grants between 5 and 7 of these, it's become routine. And a lot of the property around here, the way the land lays, either your house sits above your neighbors or your neighbor sits above you, and a 6-foot fence just does not provide the privacy that's the whole purpose of a fence. So they've asked that we raise that maximum height to 8 feet. And Tyler and Roger, who is in charge of the Board of Adjustments, are here if you have any questions for me or them.
Like cleaning things up, make it easier.
We're trying to clean up some stuff.
Does anybody have any questions for Jamie? I remind the board, this is an ordinance to pass. It would need to be read 3 times tonight.
I do have,
Yes, go ahead.
what does the ordinance say about, a person that putting up a fence had to get their land surveyed? Because I done ran through that personally. What does the ordinance say about, do a person have to get their land surveyed in order to put up a fence?
The ordinance does not say that, but we recommend, if they don't know where their property lines are, that they have a surveyor lay it out for them, because that responsibility is on them. But no, we don't have an ordinance saying that they must survey the land.
The reason why I'm saying, now, that was told to me by a city employee, that on 9th Street, when, that, so-called, I'm gonna say, what's their name, Richard,
Ritter.
Riddles, when they was putting up a cable down through there on 9th Street, I was telling the employees, well, he ain't here, so to defend himself, and he was saying that I had to get the land surveyed for me to put up a fence, and saying that they can come and tear my fence down if I do put it up, if it's keeping them from getting it. But I know there's probably gonna be a legal issue somewhere down the line, but I was just saying, where is there, that's the reason why, that what came to my mind when I was talking about going to put up a chain link fence. For a city employee told me, I called his name, and said that I need to get the land surveyed to put up a chain link fence, because if it's on outside the right of way, they can come tear it down. 9 out of 10, people don't know where their property ends and where their property begins.
That's right.
At. So
Yes,
I was
sir.
trying to figure out. Then my other question is, how is that when two neighbors putting up a fence and there's some issue as to where the, property line is and end? How do the city get, or do they get involved, or they don't get involved? And do you have to get a permit, building permit to put up a fence? That's my other question.
Yes, you have to have a permit to put up a fence. If there's a dispute among neighbors about the property line, that's a civil dispute. City does not get involved in that. Now, so as far as getting the survey in order to put up a fence, yes, that's what we recommend. We don't require it because, if they put up the fence not on their property line, then they have a dispute with their neighbor. That's on them. That's a civil dispute between them. So we don't require it, but we certainly do recommend it. And I think that's probably, I'm not sure who it was you spoke with, but I think that's probably what he was saying was if we recommend you get a survey if you don't know exactly where it was. And if you put a fence across a utility easement, so you've got your right-of-way and then you've got utility easements. They're two completely separate things. So an easement is actually on your property. The right-of-way is not your property. So if you put up a fence across a utility easement that's on your property, yes, the utility company that has that easement does have the authority to come through and tear it down. So we always recommend to everyone that they know where their easements are and not to put a fence across it. But there's lots of fences across utility easements in the city.
Okay. But I know this probably was gonna be a civil matter with Realist Communication, but it's clearly known that it's made beside the right of way based on what I had wanted to put a fence in. And what I'm going for more information, I went to the water company, and the water company looked on their map, and they said, well, Mr. Harris, like we almost a foot over on your property. And I told them to leave it there because y'all wasn't the issue. It's real, just came down there and they wanted, but we'll have guys tomorrow and we'll move the water line over. I said, no, and I told the water company, no, you can just leave it where it is. Y'all not the issue. Y'all didn't come down and bogart what somebody else did. Y'all maybe did an honest mistake. So what I'm saying, I do know what the line is, and I do what the property line is at, but I'm just trying to figure out why did the city employee tell me I had to get the, and it wasn't no, I may have, he flat out told me that I need to get the, my property surveyed before I can put the fence up.
Okay, I'm sorry that you were told that, but no, it's not a requirement. It is a recommendation. But I know that the water company a lot of times does try to lay within the right-of-way, but if there is a utility easement behind the property line, they can lay back there. But for the most part, they're within the right-of-way.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? What would be the desire of the board to have the ordinance read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to have the ordinance read on its first reading. Any other discussion? Would you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending section 28-59 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances as amended and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its second reading?
Second reading, abbreviated form, please.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its second reading, abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending section 28-59 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances as amended and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire on its third reading?
Third reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to have it read on its third and final reading tonight. Could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending Section 28-59 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances as amended and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
So I have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here that wishes to speak for or against? Seeing and hearing none, could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. The ordinance is adopted. Moving on to our last item on the agenda tonight, adopt an ordinance amending ordinance 27-2021 in order to clarify the minimum lot requirement for 2 residences in A1 limited mixed-use rural district. Jane?
So, the A1, one of the things you can do in the A1 zone that you can't do anywhere else is you can have 2 houses. You don't have to subdivide it, you can have 2 houses there. We are trying to just clear up some wording that's kind of ambiguous, that word, ambiguous. So, on the bottom slide, the way it reads now, it says 5 acres each if more than 1 dwelling. And we've had some confusion about whether that means you need to have 5 acres per house, or you just need to have a 5-acre lot with 2.5 acres per house. The Planning Commission's intent was 2.5 acres per house, a 5-acre minimum lot. So we are asking to just reword that to where it reads 5 acres minimum lot size with 2.5 acres per dwelling.
Anybody have any questions?
Let's do it.
Keep cleaning up. Anybody, any questions? What would be the desire of the board to have the ordinance read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second to have the ordinance read on its first reading, abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 27-2021 and section 28-25 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances in order to clarify the minimum lot requirement for 2 residences in the A1 Limited Mixed Use Rural District and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its second?
Second reading.
Abbreviated form.
Motion and a second to have it read on its second reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 27-2021 and section 28-25 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances in order to clarify the minimum lot requirement for 2 residences in the A1 Limited Mixed Use Rural District and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its third and final reading?
Third and final reading.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its third reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 27-2021 and section 28-25 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances in order to clarify the minimum lot requirement for 2 residences in the A1 Limited Mixed Use Rural District and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Hearing none, could you call the roll?
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes, the ordinance is adopted. Moving into board commentary, is there any board that wishes to make comments tonight during board commentary? Any board member? Okay, how about the city manager's report? It's not on here tonight. You still like to make a report?
Yeah, I usually do it at the second one of the month, though, but we're just preparing with regards to the upcoming celebration and events this weekend. Staff is diligently out there trying to clean the city up from their perspective to do our best, and security is going to be in place. Again, we're just preparing for an excitement with respect to this, and I use that loosely because there's going to be a lot of, with the fair going on and everything, we're just looking to get everything in place to make it make sense. So, but I'll keep you all apprised of what's going on.
Everybody worried about the weather?
50% chance of rain, sir, on Monday. Weekend's going to be mid-70s, ideal for a round of golf, just so you know, but we'll be working.
On Facebook, the Texas PD said that they had moved the celebration to Tuesday, same time, but
Yeah.
the eclipse is moving
And
on.
we're going to be doing both of them, Monday and Tuesday.
Any other business to come before the board before we adjourn into executive session for some commission appointments? If not, right now, this board will adjourn into executive session and excuse all guests for some commission appointments.